So here is something known as Swiss Tech over here. It is a very interesting looking knife that comes in this specific package over here. And there is something else known as Sendy knife, which is almost identical like it. So this is the story of chicken and the egg. Which came first, the chicken or the egg itself? And is this actually the chicken? And is this the egg? That's a big question. So first off, let's go ahead and check out the Swiss tag. It's made in China. It is not Swiss company. It's trying to trick people to think it is a Swiss company, but it's not. And the funny thing is, if you look at the packaging everywhere, right there, designed in USA, made in China. So it really tries to trick you to think this is Swiss when it's not. Now, the whole entire presentation here is awesome. I gotta admit, this got me fooled looking like a very expensive knife, but you know it's cheap when you open this up and it looks just like this. You just know it. You have this feeling, this thing is cheap. And it is. Now, this thing right now, it's like, hey, whoever is buying it is a dumbass. You have to know this thing is sharp, so they put this right in here. Warning, this thing is sharp. Oh, it's a knife. What do you expect, right? Now, the entire knife doesn't look this bad. I mean, when you look at this thing, it looks pretty decent. But let's not be fooled by just looking at the knife thinking this is a good knife by it looking good. It's all about performance. So when you come and you compare this to the Sendy mode, the Sendy is a little bit on the smaller side. And let's go and do some testing here. Nobody really did a big testing between those two. Now, the Sendy has two other awesome features here that this one doesn't even have. Nothing close to it. So it has right here the Twizzlers, which is metal. On the other side, we have a toothpick. I'm not a fan of the metallic toothpick, but it never is going to break on you. So keep this in mind. If you're in the woods, middle of nowhere, and you need some kind of a toothpick and you have no other option, stranded on an island, this is the knife you want to get for yourself. Hands down. This is the knife that's going to save your life in the woods or in the middle of nowhere island. It even has a toothpick. Yeah. Now, when it comes to this one over here, this one deploys just as fast. They are almost the same size. This one is a little small, which is good. I like the smaller knives, the small shape and everything. The blade is similar. It's like one person copied the other. The question is, who copied who here? Now, when it comes to closing, that's the biggest deal breaker here. Now, this one, although, take a look. The thing is you have to see is this. The fail safe test of those things, pretty much. Doesn't break. See, it's not gonna hurt you if accidentally this thing goes and breaks. This is actually the most important thing in a knife, is the safety feature. If this thing breaks on you, you're in big trouble, especially if you're in the middle of nowhere. This one over here, not too sure about. Okay, it's fine. Just have to be careful. Just really have to be careful because this one feels really cheap. Now the problem with the cheap knives is this. Let me show you. What can happen is they will get lodged somehow and they don't close all the way in. Something like this can happen. And then it's only an accident waiting for you to happen. That's why I don't like this kind of lock in the first place. But that being aside, this knife is just not too bad. We're looking for something really cheap, and you have two knives for you to pick from. I think the Civivi, hands down, is still better. This thing looks much more sharper. It is slimmer. It's also more cool looking. It has this, I don't know, this does have this coolness factor to it. It feels better in your hands. And it deploys extremely fast as well. and I feel safe using this knife. On the other hand, this thing feels cheap, and with cheap knives I always feel this lack of safety around them. Opens up pretty good. Warning, this is sharp. It looks pretty decent. It's not bad for overall, it's just a little bit bigger. It really comes down to preferences, like which one looks better, which one feels more substantial. This one is more, I think this really reminds me of a better knife. Now, what this kind of knife reminds me of, let's take a look at this. Take a look at the blue here. Let's take a look at this. See, like this one, it's like they actually copied some styling from this one. See the blue right there? This one right here, really similar. Looks really, really good. And this one over here is the Sendy one. It looks really slick and everything. This one is the Wurdig one. This is the Benchmade, and I really like this one. Of course, this is a big difference between all of them. The Benchmade one is the most expensive out of all of them, and definitely those don't even equate the fraction of the cost of the Benchmade with the access lock and everything else in between. But it does have some features that take from it, like all the really blackout that both of them have, the blue color right in the tints over here as well. So this makes it look really sophisticated and almost to the poor quality of Benchmade, and yet for the fraction of the cost. Now this one over here is a little bit more on the different side. It feels much more cheaper. It feels like one of those gas station knives that you might actually get, and when you feel it, it doesn't feel this expensive. It has this cheapness factor right in here. You feel this thing is not well balanced, and when you open and close, it opens up like a cheap knife. It closes. This lock thing is already feels right there. You can just feel this thing. You don't feel it is as well made, as well constructed as the Sendy one over here, which they put so much more time and things to perfect it. This does feel like the better knife company over here for us. And the biggest thing about this is that they tried to factor and create a form that looks exactly like their main competitor, which is the Swiss Army knife. They're the same size almost, and the shape and the blade and everything is just a companion or an alternative to a Swiss Army knife. On the other hand, this one over here is not something that is competing with a Swiss Army knife at all. It is just competing against this one. It's like they took the Civivi and decided to create a cheaper version of it. Or the other way around. The Civivi took this knife and decided to create a much better version of the same exact thing. This is hard to figure out which one copied who, but we all know one answer to this, that between those two, the Civivi is definitely the superior knife, and it is so much better. Did you really have to put Swiss Tech on this? Like, who cares? And this one doesn't have anything except the C over here, which is really good. I like the way, if I'm buying a knife, I don't want to pay for it to show the branding. Just pretty much just tell everybody, hey, look at me, I'm an expensive knife, or this is my brand recognition. And the Civivi doesn't do that. It doesn't have this whole entire thing to it, which makes it really cool. And it also has this blackout. This blackout version is just slick, in my opinion. So if you want to get a really awesome knife and really care about quality, the Sendy one is definitely the one you should consider. It not only looks awesome, it feels good, it opens up extremely fast, and yeah, let me show you. Failed again, but you have to press on it really fast down for this to work. There we go. So if you do this right, this is probably the only thing I have a little bit beef with this knife. It's just, it doesn't always open as fast as you want, and you have to use some force to get it to do exactly that. That's the only thing probably that the Swiss Tech does much better. You don't need to use much force. It will still open up pretty quick, and it will slice your finger by accident. So if you want to know which one is the better knife, well, it's probably this one, and it looks really cool. So consider this to be an awesome knife for you to get for EDC purposes. So let's go ahead and do a cutting test and figure out which one is the better knife. Ooh, really nice. It slices very good. Knife, it's sharp right outside of the box. You can see how it goes. Really good as well. This one over here, same deal. Very close performance altogether. When it comes to push to shove, this one feels a little bit, you see that? It feels a little bit not as sharp, nor as easy to work with as this one. This one feels, look at this. It slices like a dream. Now you're not supposed to cut this thing pointing at yourself, so let's go ahead and do this over here. Look at that. You can feel the superior action test goes to the Civivi once again.